Hey there, welcome to the Breaking 1000 podcast. I am Mark Brewer, and I've got my friends here, Hunter Wilson and Scott Wilson. We're so glad you're joining us, and I know many of you are being helped by these episodes. And if you are one of those people where you're growing, you're developing, you're changing because of what you're hearing here on this podcast, we'd like for you to do a couple things. Number one, subscribe. It helps us get the word out to other pastors who are navigating through some of the same situations you are. And then also share this. You have people in your life, guys and gals that you're working with and friends with that would be benefited by these episodes. So just make sure you subscribe and then also share it with your friends. And we're looking forward to helping more and more people. So I'm ready to jump in. You guys ready to jump in?
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
So here's what we know. Every world-class athlete has a coach. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, these world-class athletes not just have one coach, they've got multiple coaches that are helping them grow and develop their skill set.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, pastors don't have that same mindset. And I think if you want to be a world-class pastor and be all that God wants you to be and accomplish all that he wants you to accomplish, you got to have this growth team, growth goals, growth mindset along the way.
For sure.
How do we unpack that? How do you guys
think about it that even what you just said is a great world-class athletes, but it's also world-class leaders.
Yeah.
Anybody who is at a high level that you would think they don't need a coach. They should coach. I mean, they know but even the highest level of everybody in their fields, most of the time when you talk to them, they don't just have one, they have many.
Yeah.
And many of them are not either their organizations paying for it or they're paying for it personally in a big way, investing in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if you're growing now, your future's your best friend. If you're not growing now, your future is not.
It's scary.
It's not going to be good. So how do you see this? You're one of the people that I know in my life that probably one of the best people I know about getting a growth plan, putting it together, making the goals, getting people around you to do that. You are constantly growing. Talk to us about what do you do?
Yeah, you know what's interesting is I think something that is even like, let's zoom out even further inside of this is even the athletes or the leaders or whoever it is, they first have to have a growth mindset. Meaning
absolutely
that in comparison to the fixed mindset. And I think it was Carol Dweck that wrote that, right? And she was basically saying that there are people that have a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Fixed mindset says basically the skills that I have now are the skills that I have forever, basically. And growth mindset is my skills that I have now are just today's status, but I can always get better.
Right.
Over time, right? So why would an athlete ever train if they believe they couldn't get better? Why would a leader ever train if they feel like they can't get better?
It has to start with the mindset that you actually believe you could get better.
If you do not believe that your skills are malleable and they can transform and get better, then everything we say on this is going to feel wishy-washy and like, dude, why would I make a plan and just let myself down?
Yeah, so you're just starting with the basic foundational premise here is that I've got to first believe that I can grow.
Yeah.
And that how I'm existing, what I'm doing, what I'm accomplishing right now isn't the apex, but there's always room to scale.
Yeah, 100%. And so in this, so let's say, and we could do a whole a podcast on that right there. I mean, that's a whole book right there. And when you're talking in a second, I'm going to fact check myself that that's actually the book title because I can't go a whole episode in that. That's what we need.
I saw
we need
that
like
working in your eyes.
Dude,
you were doing the work behind there going,
some kind
is
of
that the
producer
person?
that's just like, hey, pull that up on the screen. That's the future. And maybe in the next year we can do that. All right. Anyways, I'm going to figure that out in a second. But you have to have a growth mindset first. You have to have a growth mindset. And what's interesting about the growth mindset is it is on individual roles that you have in your life, meaning even the athlete, an Olympic athlete that knows that they can get better, doesn't necessarily believe that they have a growth mindset when it comes to being a dad or a mom. It's in every role of your life, you have to believe that my skills are not fixed, that I can grow.
Yes.
Today's status isn't the final status, okay? So let's assume that that's out of the way and we believe that we can get better and we're now asking how, okay? So let's talk about the anatomy of basically like when it comes to where I'm at and where I want to be, there are different levels of horizons that we can think of when it comes to big picture and small picture. So it's like almost like the anatomy of growth, right? Is on different levels or horizons here. First, I would start at the highest level, which is the role that I am trying to grow in. Right? So we all have roles in our lives, and roles are different than goals. Goals are meant to be completed or achieved, and roles are meant to be standards that we maintain.
So a role is more like an area of existence. It's a category
Like
of my
I'm
life.
a business owner.
That's great.
I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I'm a husband. I'm a grandfather. I have hobbies.
Yeah.
Something
So
like that.
a lot of like areas of your life or roles in your life are things that you wear indefinitely or at least a very long time. So we're not in this constant flux of like changing the roles of our lives. They're the things that we juggle in life, and there's things that have a standard to be maintained, and we have goals and projects and tasks to try to uphold the standards in those roles. Okay. Meaning, all we're basically talking about here is I am a dad. I want to be a good dad. What do I mean? What does good mean? First out, you have to write out your definition of what does it mean to be good. Let's say it's red, yellow, or green. I'm a red, it's like I'm failing. Green is I'm crushing it. I'm killing it. I am meeting the standards or maybe even exceeding my own standards of what it means to be a good dad, a good business owner, a good husband, whatever it is for you, right? A runner, athlete, whatever.
But you can't even give yourself a grade if you don't know what
definition
the
of what good
objective
means.
definition of what you've said. This is what a good dad looks like
Yeah.
for me. This is what I'm aiming at in my business or in that role.
Yeah, and I think it has to be customized. Like what you talk about, and I'll kind of tee you up here, is even when we're talking about our physical health, is some people are creating a standard that they don't even actually want to try to maintain. They're trying to... What you talk about is there's a difference of creating the body of your dreams or the body for your dreams. Can you talk
It's so
about like the
brilliant
difference
when you
of
say
that?
that?
Well, I am very brilliant,
You
by
are.
the way. Yeah.
Break it down.
Yeah, talk
I,
about that.
I think the idea behind that is that sometimes we're chasing markers that aren't necessarily ones we believe in or we really value.
Yep.
So instead of trying to have the body of your dreams, which is what we might see out there on social media or in some other type of venue, hey, that's the body culturally. That's the body of your dreams. It's really more the body for your dreams. What kind of body and health do you need to have in order to fulfill the things that God has asked you to do as a person? And that's all you're working for.
It's basically, I love it how you say is that we're both grandparents. So we want to continue to be able to get on the floor.
That's it.
And wrestle with the kids. We want to go run outside with the kids and have a body that can do that into our 60s and 70s and 80s.
That's right.
And so we're really determining whether that can be happening now. Not just like, oh man, I wish I could get that now, then.
And I think the real bigger point in zooming out in this is I'm not a grandpa. I can't take y'all's definitions and borrow it for myself. And so for every role of your life that you care about of saying this is indefinite in duration, it has a standard to be maintained, you have to customize it.
Yeah.
It's the body for your dreams. It's the business for your dreams,
Which
right?
in some ways you're presupposing that you know what those things are. I mean, at some point you're trying to figure out what are the dreams, what are the specific things that God has asked me to do in this season of my life, and then what are the key areas and components that are going to need to be developed and scaled so that I can accomplish that.
Yeah, and I think everybody has a really good gauge, or I think everybody has a gauge of whether they're succeeding or failing in a role. But what's interesting is hardly anybody has that definition written down.
No, it's just how they feel.
It's how they
feel
feel
in the moment of what, and it may even be more recent
Recency
defining,
bias.
man, I think I did good today, so I think I'm doing good, whatever. But the book that I'm reading right now, like my second time through, Benjamin Hardy's book, Be Your Future Self Now. Holy cow. It is so amazing on what we're talking about here. It's about looking at who you want to be in the future. And saying, what does that look like of what I want? It's basically even saying my future self wishes I was doing this right now.
Yeah, you're just presupposing, you're saying, gosh, 30 years down the road, what would my future self want me to have done today?
Yes.
tomorrow and built.
And you get, and the more you get clear
Yes.
about who you're wanting to become,
Right.
and the more you get into relationship with being a good friend to your future self, basically saying, I'm going to exercise today the way you want me to be doing.
So-
I'm going to love people the way.
And I think that even is a great fix right now is, I just looked it up. It is Mindset by Carol Dweck. So I did
job.
get
Come
it right.
on, now
All right,
you
let's
can't
go.
even
I
think.
hope you noted
All right.
that,
All right.
podcast watchers and viewers and listeners.
Just so you know. All right. So, anyways, I love that framing of a question to say, like, instead of asking, what does it mean to be good? And you're like, I don't know. Like, all I know is by comparison. It is basically looking at your future self and your ideal future self and asking, what if everything went the way I think it should go? What if everything turned out like I think it could be, right? And what would my future self want me to be investing in right now?
Can I tell you one thing? One story he says in it that it fits to everything we're talking about here that was so compelling. He said he didn't feel like he was doing really well with his kids the way he wanted to. And when he started looking at it, he said, I hear people all the time, I'm about to cry thinking about it. I hear all the time people say stuff like, man, if I could just go back and have a day where my kids, like you would be a little kid and I come home and you go, Dad, you used to do that, you know? And now it's only every now and then.
I've seen him do that in the office a couple of
sometimes,
times.
but not as much. But every time I would come home, you'd be so excited. You'd run to the door and go, Dad's home. And you and Dylan and then Dakota would be coming behind. But when he had his little kids, he goes, my future self wants to not regret that, but wants that, wishes he could have that. So he said he started stopping down the road of his house and taking 5 minutes and going, when my kids are in their 20s or they're out of my house, what do I want to have had? What would I wish I would have had? And I'm going to go do that now.
Yeah.
And he would get in the mindset. And he said, you know, my future self would go, man, I wish I could just come home, have that hug, roll on the floor, you know, or go outside. Let's play catch.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So he would drive up. And when his daughter would come to him, he said, I did those things when sometimes I was missing it because I was tired or I was going, I really don't feel like doing that right now, whatever. He said, I got myself in a mindset of what I knew my future self would want me to have had in those moments. And I became it.
And so that's the whole premise behind developing a growth team, growth goals, growth plan. How can we jump into some of the practice of executing
I think that's
on that?
what you just did is basically saying, first, it is declaring to yourself, I want to be a good dad, and creating that standard for yourself. So the top highest level is saying, in each role of my life, I'm going to first say, what are the roles of my life? What are the standards of excellence? What does it mean to be green?
Something written.
Something written, not in your head, something that we can look back on paper and say, I can outgrow this definition of good, but I at least have something written in pencil right now that I can adjust later.
Yes.
So every role in your life needs a goal. So what even Benjamin Hardy is saying is, I first want to say, I want to be a good dad. Dad is a role of my life. I want to be a good one. One of the things I want to do is take advantage of the moments and seize the moments and not let me being tired. So I'm going to transition well. I'm going to transition from being home to be like, I am in dad mode. I'm not in recovery mode, right? What I would say is he's creating a goal from a role.
Yes.
Right? So every role in your life should have shorter term goals to achieve. So these can be, what I like to do is base it off of a cycle. So cycles of my life are not based off of a year, annual goals. It's based off of short-term goals that I can be focused for a sprint in a season.
Yes.
Right? So what I like to do is 90-day goals. So I like to go, every role in my life has goals. Goals are 90-day objectives that I want to achieve. Now, goals are either accomplished through projects or through habits. Okay?
Yeah.
So they're either accomplished through something that you need to accomplish, like a project, or a habit that you need to integrate into your life. What I found most often, it's just kind of funny, is most of the time people that are more project oriented, that they want to complete things, they usually do that in the role of work or boss or leader. But most life integration that you need to have to achieve your standards of excellence are really habits to integrate. and embed into your life.
Even like what you were saying with the Benjamin Hardy thing, it's a habit of taking 5 minutes between leaving the office and getting home and going, okay, how can I switch roles and reorient myself so that I'm prepared? It's a habit.
A goal may be, which is he has that too, is that he then changed his schedule where he took half days on Wednesdays. In his schedule, he can do whatever he's writing.
Sure.
He says Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays were family days. And so that's a goal. I want to go, and each kid I'm going to spend quality time with for at least an hour individually each week. That's a goal that you can evaluate.
Yeah, and so in this, we have roles that have standards. We have goals for the short-term season. We like doing cycles. It's a 90-day cycle.
Yes.
And then goals are accomplished through either habit integration or project completion.
Yeah.
Right? And then on project completion, you can break that even down to one more layer of tasks. Okay, so projects have tasks. When you complete the task, you complete the project. When you complete the project, you accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
When you accomplish goals, you meet or exceed the expectations of a role.
And this is all part of the process of what we teed up in the beginning, developing a growth plan.
Yeah.
So having something specific that's written,
so you
it's your playbook to follow.
Now at this time, you could have like, okay, I get it. I can do the work. I can have like identify the roles, create goals. Now I'm doing either habits or projects to complete the goal.
Yeah.
And then projects are broken down into tasks. Now here's the thing that, here's the reason why if you stop here, why January 12th is National Quitters Day.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's an actual day.
Well, what I think is actually happening now is people are recognizing the and having to or being forced to confront the reality of motivation alone is not enough.
It'll last you about 2 weeks.
It'll last you about 12 days.
Till you get to the 12th, and then people peel off.
And that's why it is on the 12th, is because that became the average of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
They stopped doing it at that time.
I think what is most important, and I want to tee you up because I know that this was like super personal for you, and you taught me this, is having people on your team to help hold you accountable to meeting and exceeding. And once you actually share with someone on your team your goals, your roles, your projects, and tasks.
I think we probably need to do a whole podcast just on growth team and doing that. But what you're saying here is so huge. I was talking to my counselor about this and saying, hey, there are things in my life. I've become crystal clear of what I want to become. I also have goals I've been able to have on there. But I got to be honest with you, I feel like I'm not hitting it like I want.
Yep.
And he said some things can only be achieved when there's somebody each week you're going to share it with you trust, and they're going to ask you, did you do it?
Yep.
And I think that's where we're saying we miss it, is that so many times we have these goals, we have this, but we don't have anybody we're talking to that says this. Now, who can you do that with? Because you know what? Some of you listening right now, it may be even that you're thinking, I've got areas in my life of habits that are not healthy for me. I don't know how to break them.
Yeah.
I've got things going on in my life that I'm watching or doing that I wish I wasn't, but I don't know how to fix that. Mm-hmm. I have physical body, diet issues, all the exercise. If you don't set up a schedule where you have somebody on your team that you're saying, that's my person. So you know what I set up with my counselor, because he and I have been walking together for over 20 years, is we set up every Friday. I send a report to him of the 4 key questions of my life, that if I keep these 4 things right, if I stay holy, if I stay connected to my wife in a way that I'm not just talking about sexual contact, but I'm saying if I hold her intimacy at least 2 or 3 times a week, I have minimum standards on there is what I have. If I am exercising, and if I'm staying in relationship with the Lord every morning, connecting with Him, these are questions that I have on there that I've defined of what a minimal standard is.
You're not making those up every time you report out. These are the areas
they're the
that you've
same
already
questions of those. Did you watch anything this week you shouldn't watch? Have you connected with Jenny in a way that has been connecting close? Have you exercised this week, and have you, the first thing you did every morning when you woke up, you prayed? And when I answer that, and if I say no, I give a little reason on there or whatever, and then he'll call me. But just knowing every Friday I send that is helping me.
And that's a growth team person that you've invited.
And that's just one example. There's so much to it. I think we probably need to do a whole one on it.
I think what's interesting on this, just to give it like almost like a teaser, is what you say all the time is people that have a growth team grow faster and they grow more consistently than those who don't.
100%.
They grow faster and they grow more consistently. Why? Because, and I love this, that this framework, I can't remember who taught me this. I think it was Nest Labs that talked about.
We're gonna have to check that one too.
I think it is Nest Labs. No,
Mr.
Nest
Producer,
Labs.
can you check that and make sure that
fact
he's
checkers.
Yeah.
But they talk about that people that have a growth team have a plus, minus, and a next. Or no. A plus, minus, and an equal. Plus, minus, and equal. So they have people in their life that they're learning from. That's somebody that's a plus. They're like ahead of me in life. There's people that I'm learning from. There's minus, which doesn't mean that they're less than me. It's people that haven't journeyed as far as I have in this direction.
Them and helping
that I'm teaching them. And somebody that's running with me that's an equal. And so in this,
which is a biblical example of, Paul, Timothy, and those that he would train. You always want to have people that are training you, people that you're pouring into them, and then peers and relationships that are walking alongside of you.
Yeah. So in this, I think you always should be looking at who are people that are further along than me, that are plus, that are like beyond where I'm at, and how can I learn from them? This could be physical mentors, meaning like we actually meet in real life. It could be that we meet on Zoom, that they're like a coach that I hire. It could be digital mentors that I learn from. Like we were just talking about Benjamin Hardy. Like you can consume all the things that he writes about. So
these would be the people that would be enlisted to your growth team.
Yeah,
exactly. Key categories of their expertise.
Probably attached to a role.
Because nobody's a juggernaut at all the things. And so you're designing your growth team to have key people in the key areas that you're always wanting to move toward green or beyond.
I want to just, I think a closing thought here on this, because there's so much. I mean, we could go on and on and on. I think we've hit. I think the biggest thing is thinking what we did from the very beginning is, do you have a growth mindset? Do you believe in your mind that the skills you have, the abilities you have, the roles you have, you can get better? I think most people think, yeah, you probably could, but not to the point that they're saying, I am going to get intentional about growing in these areas. It's Matthew 25. Jesus says there was this guy who had 3 servants. One guy got 5 talents, one guy had 2, one had 1. The 2 who had a growth mindset came back and said, here's what you entrusted to me, and I have grown it to double. The one guy said, I knew you were a harsh guy. I knew you were really had high standards. So I went and made sure I didn't lose this. That's a guy who didn't have a growth mindset. He didn't even have a concept that it could be developed. It was just like, I got to hold on to what I have. This is all I can have. And I'll make sure that when he comes back, I'm going to give him what he gave to me. And that was the servant without a growth mindset who wasted what God had given him. And Jesus said, that master looked at him and said, you're a wicked and lazy servant. It's not. And he said, hey, you're not, I'm firing you. That's basically what he said. I'm going to take what you had. And I'm going to trust a guy who has a growth mindset.
Yeah.
What's pleasing to the Lord is that we understand he has given us skills. He has given us gifts. He's given it according to the roles he's called us to. Because that's Ephesians 2:10. You are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which he has prepared you in advance to do. He has given you these things, but he has entrusted us as a steward to grow them and to develop them. And so I hope whoever's watching this right now that you are doing what Hunter said. Figure out what your roles are. Get clear about what those are that are most important. And by the way, one of your roles is your personal development of your life, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And then
we want to create goals
and get goals.
And I think the goals should be on a 90-day cycle. Basically, you can have a vision of what you want to see happen in the next year of 2026, whatever. And then break it down into, I'm going to hit quarterly milestones along the way. Yeah. And then every goal is broken down either as a project to complete or a habit to integrate into my life. And I think that's what you need to do, but you can't stop there. You got to have people on your team that are helping you, people that are further along, people that you're running with. It doesn't mean that they have to be pursuing the exact same habit. It means that they are trying to develop themselves in areas, and you're holding each other accountable of not trying to shame each other of like, why didn't you do that? Which is what your counselor doesn't do to you.
No.
I don't need help on feeling bad about not hitting my intentions that I set for myself. I need somebody that I can verbal process with of here's what's getting me hung up on this thing, and can you help me brainstorm what I can try on next to help me integrate this in the intentions of my life.
Yep.
And that somebody on your team and having multiple people on your team to help you in each role of your life is going to help you grow faster and more consistently than those who don't.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so, hey, let's land the plane here. If you don't have a growth plan, start now. If you don't have a growth team, start now developing that. This is the beginning of the new year, and now is a great time to start moving that forward. Again, if this has been helpful for you, or some of the other issues we've been surfacing on the podcast are, please hit subscribe or share with a friend that's navigating through some of these as well. And then if you'd like us to tee something up in this podcast, just shoot us an email at hey@readysetgrow.church, and we'll look forward to doing that. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time on the Breaking 1000 podcast.